I would like to call on Abdurrashid Mubarak to give the welcome address, but before I call him on, I'd like to give you a brief bio about Abdurrashid Mubarak. Associate member,
Thank you very much, Anissa. Distinguished guests, panelists, and participants, I'm honored to welcome you to this timely conversation and critical discussion on addressing gender-based violence in tertiary institutions with the theme, promoting safe and equitable tertiary institutions through student-led advocacy campaigns and dialogue. Without wasting most of our time, I would like to proceed with the next agenda on our order of events. Permit me to call to the podium Alimatu Sadia, the Program Manager, Social Justice and Equity, Yar'Adua Foundation, for our opening remarks.
Good morning, everyone. Once again, thank you all for joining us today for this public policy forum. First off, I would like to say thank you to all the representatives of government ministries, departments, agencies, academic committees, the academia who is currently here, civil society organizations, some creatives that we have in the room, and of course, to the people who are the heart of this conversation that we're having today, the Nigerian students. We want to say thank you so much for taking out time today to be a part of this conversation. To start with, I know that for a lot of us here, it is no news that in Nigerian tertiary communities, significant power imbalances exist between faculty and students, non-academic staff and students, and even among students themselves. Reports indicate that sadly, approximately 70% of female graduates from Nigerian tertiary institutions have experienced sexual and gender-based violence. So that is clear that it is a problem that we need to address. It's not something that we can just gloss over. We have to have conversations about this. This unequal power dynamics, coupled with the lack of robust policies and systems to safeguard against abuse, has normalized sexual and gender-based violence, creating environments where survivors lack access to support systems and avenues for justice. This undermines the academic environment, replacing it with one that is dominated by fear and intimidation. To effectively combat sexual and gender-based violence in Nigerian tertiary institutions, it is then crucial to empower the primary stakeholders, which are the students themselves, to lead the institutionalization of anti-sexual and gender-based violence policies and systems, because sustainable change requires the ownership and leadership from those who are most affected, so they can foster internal coalitions for institutional and attitudinal change. This approach ensures that legal and policy frameworks supported by organizations like the Sheikh Musa Yar'Adua Foundation and its partners are not just adopted by schools, but they are owned to prevent and protect students, thereby creating safer environment. Over the past 3 years, the Shehu Musa Yar'Adua Foundation, in collaborations with partners like RAPA, Gender Mobile, Education as a Vaccine, and the Nigerian Association of Female Students, has worked to address policy gaps. And this action has led to the co-creation and adoption of safeguarding policies across some of our pilot universities, which are the American University of Nigeria, University of Nigeria, Nsukka, and Bayero University Kano. Following this, what can we support to ensure that sexual and gender-based policies are adopted and institutionalized? Based on this research that we conducted, we found that one of the key things that each university, though they may have to some extent a degree of students being part and parcel of the system itself, we noticed that there was a gap, that students were not brought along. So when policies were made, as much as to some degree some students were part of it, to the greater degree, students were either not aware or they were not included in the creation of these policies and systems that protect them. And so, based on this, what we did is that we identified students champions within the schools and we empowered them so they can lead advocacy efforts within their institutions. Building on the results of the evaluation, this public policy will explore the importance of promoting safe and equitable tertiary institutions through student-led advocacy campaigns and dialogue. It did also discuss actionable strategies for students to drive ownership and effective implementation of anti-sexual and gender-based violence safeguarding measures across Nigerian tertiary institutions. The foundation and the pilot universities who are ably represented here today are committed to sharing best practices and learning from stakeholders like yourself to identify the most effective ways to empower students and reduce instances of sexual and gender-based violence on campuses. Through this forum, we hope that together we can learn, we can share insights, and we can strengthen our capacity to support not only the pilot universities that are here today, but also in our broader vision to scale these learnings to all tertiary institutions across the country. And so once again, thank you all for giving us your time, and we will go on to the next aspect of this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alima, for that insightful and thought-provoking opening remark. Now, getting to know that it's timely we have this conversation, and it's very important that we dive into these kind of discussions. Gender-based violence is something that is real, and it's happening in our tertiary institutions. And the next on our agenda is special remarks, and I have the honor and privilege to invite to the podium Professor Grace Nkadi Oyegegbu. But before then, I would like to tell you who she is. Professor Grace Nkadi Oyegegbu is the director of the Gender and Development Policy Center at the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, a distinguished academic and gender expert. She has dedicated her career to advancing gender-responsive policies and fostering inclusive development in Nigeria tertiary institutions. Her research works and advocacy focus on gender equity, education, and institutional reforms, contributing to the creation of safer and more equitable learning environment. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the podium Professor Grace Nkadi Oyegegbu for her special remarks.
Good morning, everybody. I don't know where they picked the name Grace. That's an old name. I don't know how where they picked it from, so I was shocked seeing it in the brochure. My name is Nkadio Yegebu. I'm a professor in Science Education Department, and then currently the director of Gender and Policy Center in UNN, Gender Development Policy Center in UNN, from University of Nigeria. The acronym is UNN. The one and the only one university in Nigeria, I must say, sorry, is the den of the lion and the lionesses. I see some faces are not too happy about that, but it's just a joke. This is an honor. It gives me a pleasure, an honor, and a big privilege to be here today in partnership with our Shehu Musa Yar'Adua Foundation, which we have great collaboration with, and which I must tell you I'm very delighted that they have partnership with Gender Center in UNN. And then, just like you must have just heard, two people saying that this forum is very timely, and this forum is very laudable to promote safeguarding policies in our different institutions, and at the same time, using our students. There's nothing, because without the students, the university is no university at all. Using our students to lead these promotion and the equity of these policies. We have to talk about it anytime. It is a laudable and timely forum to be with, and then I'm delighted and excited that I'll be part of it. And it is my, wish that everybody here will get out something out of it. You'll be schooled, fairly schooled, you'll be educated on something that can impact, make a great significant impact in the life of you and the person next to you and the person next to you and you and you, and so it goes like a viral, a circle. So my hope that we all go home fully engaged, fully experienced, fully listen and
Thank you very much, Ma. And I have also Dr. Abubakar Sadiq Husseini, who is the Dean and founding
Thank you, Mr. Mubarak. Good morning, all. To our wonderful students, those are why we are here. You are welcome, and thank you for your participation. To the director of the Yar'Adua Foundation, Sadia and Regina, thank you for all the effort that you are putting in. And this is most appreciation from the American University of Nigeria, the message from our president, which is the Vice Chancellor, being in this part of the pilot of this project, being in the policy making of this team, which is good. And I'm here to categorically tell you that we are just different. Different, not related to public university as a private, no. Within the private university, we are different. Our institution is this, we can call it the safe. I'm happy being in American university because it promotes freedom of expression, safety of the campus, and the environment, both the faculty, which are the lecturers, the staffs, and the students. Although he's here, he's our student, he can attest to that. He graduated about 5-6 years ago from American University of Nigeria. Now he's working with the High Commission of Canada. He can tell you, Anissa is here, she can tell you. But university is a learning process. When they reach out to us, Sadia, we cannot just say, oh, we are fine. No. The weak point, somebody must tell us, because we cannot see what we are not doing correct. We can only see, what we are not doing differently or not correct. We can only see what we are doing correct. So we are here to contribute, to give a little bit insight of what we are doing to reach up to this. We have zero tolerance of sexual harassment. Zero. No matter who you are in American University, no matter how degree level you are in American University, we have zero tolerance of sexual harassment. The students are aware, the staffs are aware, the faculty are aware. It do happen, but it's a sack. Immediately. So I can categorically tell you we are far north in Nigeria, northeast. But I can tell you about 4 years ago, the Yar'Adua Foundation reached out to us. We started this similar program with the director of the Yar'Adua Foundation. We really enjoy. There's a lot of things that help us to be where we are and how we reach today. And again, United Nations Population Fund, we are partnering with them, training and retraining our community, which is part of our social responsibility, but it's fully funded by United Population Fund, related with the gender-based violence. Our policy is always include students, always. The plenary discipline always includes students. So our student is not left out for our decision making. We always learn, and that's why we are in the learning community. Not only AUN, staff, faculty, and students, with the environment where we live, the Yola South, Urocheke, Bole, they can attest to that. But during the discussion, we can discuss more. And thank you for inviting us, and thank you for the ticket, paying for the ticket for us to come here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. And the next is my own mother, a role model and mentor who I look up to in the developmental space, Professor Aishatu Abdul Ismail. Professor Aishatu Abdul Ismail is a seasoned academic at Bayero University Kano with expertise in education, gender studies, and social policy. She has played a significant role in promoting gender-sensitive policies within higher institutions, advocating for institutional frameworks that protect students from sexual harassment and gender-based violence. And it will interest you to know that she is the chairperson of the Sexual Harassment Committee, Bayero University Kano. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome on podium my mother, Professor Aishatu Abdul Ismail.
Thank you very much. Alhamdulillah, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Alhamdulillah. I would like to remain on the protocols, and I greet everybody here, our colleagues and our dear students. Good morning and welcome to this program. I'm very pleased to be here. Whenever any discussion of such nature, one policy and issues of sexual harassment, preventing students being harassed, then this is an issue that we need to all put hands together. It's important to note that any policy or framework on sexual and gender-based violence, we all know, and that is why we're here, is centered around the students, because their life, their academic performance, their safety, as well as their general well-being is being impacted. So we really need to all put hands on deck to ensure that we cut the occurrence and prevalence of sexual and gender-based violence in institutions. I'm not really an expert in education, but rather a practitioner in education. So Alhamdulillah, Bayero University Kano has a zero tolerance for sexual harassment, whether it involves students, whether staff, or even third party, those that come into the university environment. So all sexual harassment cases are dealt with seriously and treated with high level of professionalism if they are reported. We're happy to also note that Bayero University has been at the forefront of taking institutional measures in addressing this pertinent issue and has demonstrated the leadership by being one of the first universities to develop and adopt the sexual harassment policy as well as the gender policy. Sexual harassment, maybe I should use this. So I should keep this. And the sexual harassment policy in Bayero University Kano is a coherent and cohesive response system to address these issues and also to ensure prevention in the first instance and ensure reporting channels as well as redress mechanisms. Basically, that is what we are focusing on. And the Bayero University Sexual Harassment Policy provides for effective and responsive reporting structures through the joint mechanisms of the University Sexual Harassment Committee and its various support tiers at faculty and departmental levels. The BUSHP has well-articulated penalties and remediation structures, as well as referral pathways for serious cases. We also have, apart from the Bayero University Sexual Harassment Policy, we also have the University Sexual Harassment Committee, which is a standing committee composed of eminent and reputable individuals that have vast experience in handling such cases in a professional and confidential manner. And decision of the committee may include several penalties depending on the severity of the offense. And students are members of the Sexual Harassment Committee. And the policy has two reporting avenues, formal and informal. And the university has further support structures through the Office of the Dean Student Affairs, which has a female deputy dean, the guidance and counseling unit, as well as the confidential corner in the Center for Gender Studies. Just last 2 days, I think, a counselor was appointed for the confidential corner, so that there will be somebody, a residential counselor for the confidential corner. So I would like to close these remarks by citing a statement made by our Vice Chancellor, Professor Sagir Abbas. He said, our goal is not simply to react to challenges, but to transform our university into a model of what a safe and inclusive community should be. This is a shared responsibility, one that requires the commitment of every one of us. We must stand united against any form of harassment and uphold the values of dignity, respect, and integrity in all our interactions. We must ensure that this university becomes a place where talent flourishes, creativity abounds, and individuals thrive free from harassment, intimidation, and discrimination. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ma. And we have in our midst the Director of External Affairs, National Association of Female Students of Nigeria, Ms. Abdulaziz Awa. Please come forward for your own special remark. Thank you.
Standing on the already existing protocol, esteemed guests, distinguished speakers, and fellow advocates for safe and equitable tertiary institution. I stand before you today representing the National President of the National Female Student Association of Nigeria, NIFSAN, Comrade Choice Ochina Enibelu, regrets her unavoidable absence due to attending a burial ceremony. I bring greetings from our members across the country as we gather here today. I would like to take a moment to celebrate International Women's Day, a day that recognizes the achievements and contributions of women worldwide. It's a day to acknowledge the progress made towards gender equality and to renew our commitment to creating a world where women and girls can thrive. I want to commend the organizers of the Public Policy Forum for their tireless efforts in addressing the critical issue of sexual and gender-based violence, SGBV, in Nigeria's higher tertiary institution. Your research and advocacy work is crucial in shaping policy and safeguarding measures that protect students from harm. I would also like to express my gratitude to the Sheikh Musa Yar'Adua Foundation for their good work in promoting democracy, national unity, and good governance. Your commitment to creating a better Nigeria is truly inspiring. Specifically, I want to thank Mr. Amara for being a true he-for-she advocate. Your support for gender equality is remarkable, and we appreciate your efforts. I would also like to thank Ms. Regina for her tireless advocacy work, particularly her efforts with the Sheikh Musa Yar'Adua Foundation. Her commitment to promoting gender equality and challenging discriminatory norms is truly commendable. As an advocate for female students, I have witnessed firsthand the devastating impacts of SGBV on the academic performance, mental health, and overall well-being of survivors. It is our collective responsibility to ensure that our higher tertiary institutions are safe spaces for all students, regardless of their gender, background, or circumstances. At NIFSAN, we are committed to promoting students' led advocacy campaigns that drive meaningful change. We believe that students are critical stakeholders in shaping policies and practices that affect their lives. Through our advocacy work, we aim to amplify the voices of female students, challenge discriminatory norms and practices, and promote inclusive and equitable learning environments. I urge all stakeholders present here today to join forces in addressing the scourge of SGBV in Nigeria higher tertiary institutions. Let us work together to create a culture of respect, empathy, and zero tolerance for violence and discrimination. Thank you for your attention, and I look forward to our discussion today. On behalf of the National President, National Female Student Association of Nigeria, NIFSAN, Comrade Choice Uchina Enivioli, God bless NIFSAN, God bless Nigeria higher tertiary institutions, God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sawa. And the next on our agenda is spoken word. Ladies and gentlemen, please, let's welcome on podium Deborah Johnson. Okay. Deborah Johnson is an award-winning writer and performance artist who is passionate about gender equality and telling African stories. She hopes to use art as a means for social change. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, welcome to the podium, Deborah Johnson for our poet artist.
Hi. Good morning. Standing on all existing protocols, I'm going to do a short piece, and I hope that it means something to you. I hate how exhaustive this body is. Every nook and cranny of my bones is a historical cave, holding memory in frozen hieroglyphs, waiting for researchers to find in awe of the grief that dwells here. When I was 13, I jumped out of a moving vehicle to save mine and my sister's lives. When my mouth tasted gravel, I knew what it was like to not be Superman. Kidnapping was all the rage, and 2 teenage girls alone were like apples ripe for the picking, tempted like Eve they picked. Last year, 2 men held me to submission with a knife. My heart was Speedy Gonzalez, threatening to burst out of my chest. My eyes were on proverbial knees, praying they not ask for more than money, more than my death. See, my gender is a white flag of surrender. Predators don't have to chase you before you know you are prey. January 13th, 2023, I was in a car crash, screaming because my vision was marred by crimson, surrounded by men, terrified that one of them wouldn't care that I was dying. Dead bodies get raped too. A few months ago, at 3 a.m., a man breaks in and takes my phone. A day after, I start to bleed. My brain traps me in a realm of possibilities where anything could have happened in my sleep. Many other nights ago, something did happen in my sleep. I was 17. Reality was a nightmare I would have died to escape from, so I slept even deeper using pills as my watchguard. And when you are drowning, it is so easy to mistake any Judas on a boat for Messiah. We'll call mine ex, mentor, lecturer, the school's version of a father. Father, forgive me for I have sinned. Held me down in one of those dreams too real to be a dream. It was in a library, it was in his office, it was in a classroom. I did nothing to attract him, I swear, but women are pollen, and men will always be bees. Did I ever touch you? Wasn't this fun for both of us? I nod. My fountain of youth, his elixir of sustenance. Many came before me, many will come after. pawns sent to die for this lecturer's gambit. Consent is a language we stammer to speak. So we seal our lips. Tomb, grave robbers will never rob these secrets. Anything to make this right. I held my abuser like a god that night, begging not to be abandoned. The line between victim and criminal starts to blur. Is this what it feels like to approach blindness? This is not love. It is the serpent in the Garden of Eden posing as God. While you're in school, your mother prays to God, but the weapon fashioned against you has already prospered. This man is my shepherd, I shall not want. He teaches me how to fold myself like a piece of cloth, small enough to fit into a box, dark enough to be thankful for flickers. Are you tired of hearing rape poems, of hearing sex for grades poems, of hearing violence poems? We are tired of writing them. Yes, not all men, but the seconds it takes to confirm are paid for with life. We are tired of wearing baggy clothes to hide our target practice body from dagger eyes. Tired of being scared of the dark because the boogeyman is a man. Tired of being told to pay for school twice, once with hard-earned money and the next with your body. We're tired of walking with shoulders caved in, esteem touching the feet of Hades. This body is a map of scars, and we are constantly trying to find X. Marks the spot, marks the evidence Detective Rape Kit couldn't find, marks proof that we were not accomplices, marks me. If I dig deep enough, maybe I'll finally believe my only crime was being taken out of a rib, made in the image of Eve, an apple ripe for the picking. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Deborah. Please, another round of applause. I feel emotional when she was presenting her spoken words. And the next on our agenda is, we have research presentation by Sarah Egbo on the topic, Sexual and Gender-Based Violence, Policies and Safeguarding Measures in Nigeria Tertiary Institutions, a case study of 3 universities. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome on the podium, Sarah Egbo, for our presentation.
Good day, everyone. My name is Sarah Igbo, and I am the Gender and Policy Consultant on behalf of the Shehu Musa Yar'Adua Foundation. First, I want to say it's an immense pleasure to be engaging with you all this day at the Public Policy Forum. I would be specifically sharing insights regarding a research project by the foundation, specifically looking at the evaluation and assessment of sexual and gender-based violence policies and safeguarding measures in Nigerian tertiary institutions, specifically looking at 3 institutions. And so the background of this is that this research is a part or a component of the Promoting Safe and Equitable Tertiary Institutions project by the foundation. This project is specifically geared to engage, and the institution is the institutions currently in partnership with the foundation are American University of Nigeria, which is AUN for short, BUK, which is Bayero University Kano, and the University of Nigeria, UNN. So the goal of this research was for us to assess the effectiveness of existing SGBV policies, and this was specifically drawn from the fact that 3 years ago, the foundation had engaged with 3 of these institutions to support them in design and implementation of their safeguarding policies. So fast forward to 3 years now, we wanted to know how effective were these policies, how effective were the safeguarding measures that were accompanied with these policies or drawn from these policies, and in terms of implementation, what are the gaps, what are the areas of recommendation and improvement for these 3 partner institutions. And so to conduct this research, we adopted a mixed method approach whereby it comprised of qualitative data collection in terms of interviews and focus group discussions, specifically having key informant interviews, also known as KIIs, with the staff of each of these institutions, as well as having focus group discussion with students of each of these institutions. For the quantitative part, we administered the survey custom made for each of these 3 institutions for campus community members to fill out the survey so that we get an understanding of their perspective, which will inform the research. And all this was concurrently done with desk reviews, whereby we looked into the policies of each of these institutions, the safeguarding policies to be precise, while also comparing them with legal frameworks at the national and even the global level, such as the Sexual Harassment Prohibition in Tertiary Institutions Bill in Nigeria, as well as other relevant institutional reports. And so from this research, we were able to conduct this number of key informant interviews with staff and focus group discussion with students, and as well as the survey responses as well, resulting from the surveys that we distributed. And we specifically decided to go for a purposive sampling approach, which is derived from the purpose, like the name as it spells out, purpose, specifically targeting depth and quality of insights over quantity. So in simple terms, we weren't looking for a large number of people to respond to. We were instead looking for the people that would give us the most relevant information that would inform this research, given its relevance, knowing that policies are a strong identifier of an institutional will in combating and preventing sexual and gender-based violence in institutions. And so, based on this background, based on the research aim, and following the interviews, focus group discussions, and the surveys that we administered independently to each of the schools, we were able to come up with this or gain these findings from the institutions. And these were organized into these thematic areas, which you can see, specifically 7 in number. And this again ties to the basis of us looking at what is on ground. Is it effective? Are there areas that need to be improved upon? Are there areas that are good, they are working? Are there recommendations that we need to strengthen? And again, the purpose of this research is not to cast a dark shadow on the institutions. Instead, it's even to promote the institutions, these institutions and all institutions across Nigeria to adopt structures and implement structures that would work towards addressing mission angle. And so for this table that you're seeing, we recognize that institutions are autonomous bodies and every institution is unique in its own way. Yes, there are similarities, but yes, there are also specials and differences that make each institution different. So for the first thematic area, in terms of AUN, they have their policy titled as a safeguarding policy against SGBV, same thing for BUK. For UNN, the difference is that they call theirs a sexual misconduct policy. In terms of structures, so for AUN, in addition to the safeguarding policy, they have the advocacy toolkit, which is an audiovisual material that is aimed at advocating against SGBV on campus. In terms of handling the affairs, that's case management of SGBV cases, they have the Judicial Affairs Unit, they have the Gender Center, and they also have the Legal Health and Security Units, and also the Dean of Student Affairs as well, amongst other units. For BUK, it's slightly different. They have a multidisciplinary anti-sexual harassment committee comprising of staff and students. The Center for Gender Studies also plays a very critical role when it comes to case management, advocacy, and other matters pertaining to SGBV in the institution. And they also have a confidential corner which serves as a reporting avenue for persons to come and report cases of SGBV. While for UNN, they have the Gender and Policy Development Center, which is like the gender equivalent of the other institutions, as well as the SEVCOM unit, which are the key custodians of handling cases related to sexual and gender-based violence. And it's important to note that across all three institutions, it's not just in case of handling case amongst other roles. It's also important to note that these institutions also leverage the platform that has been designed by the Shehu Musa Yar'Adua Foundation, which is the whistleblowing platform. In terms of key stakeholder committee, same thing for BUK as well, particularly having staff and student representation, which is really commendable. For UNN, there is also a diverse representation as well, but there is little or limited rather student involvement. In terms of prevention and awareness, orientation sessions are held and advocacy materials exist, but they do not reach all demographics. And what this simply means is that, for instance, for non-traditional students or second-year students, because orientation is usually geared at first-year students, there is that tendency for transfer students and non-traditional students, or let's say graduate students at an older age, for instance, to miss out on the prevention education that they would have gotten if they came in as first years in their orientation years. For BUK, theirs is more theirs is along the same line, but it's geared more towards non-residential students. And there's also the fact that because BUK has main campus and satellite campuses, it's also easy for information to be more widespread in one campus compared to the other. So for context, BUK has the Zaria campus and the Samaru campus. And so there might be an extensive level of awareness raising program that happens in the Zaria campus, but not as much in the Samaru campus, which gives that information gap that was highlighted. Same thing with UNN as well. They also have campuses, different campuses. For UNN, there's specifically the Nsukka and the Enugu campuses. And so there might be that gap as well in terms of education on prevention of SGBV and response. In terms of reporting mechanisms, as earlier stated, all three institutions, because they are partner institutions with the Shehu Musa Yar'Adua Foundation, they've been exposed to the foundation's whistleblowing platform. But they have their institutional confidential platforms that they use alongside that platform. And it really depends on what the campus community members of that institutions are most comfortable going with. The concerns about reporting mechanisms, and in this case, we're looking at the tools. So for AUN, the whistleblowing platform exists, but there is concerns about confidentiality and follow-up. For BUK, Confidential Corner, which is the institution's own platform, people don't trust it, especially the students. For UNN, the interesting thing about UNN is the bureaucracy, which from the participants of the research which we engage with, they were like, they know that the structures exist, but they feel like it takes way too long because of the bureaucratic process for issues to be addressed. And this discourages reportage because of the extensive time it gets for one to get to have a feedback on the case that was reported. Moving on, there are support systems that cut across all institutions, but a major issue is the aspect of resource allocation. And this is not something that is just unique to these three institutions. This is something that is common with a lot of institutions across Nigeria, and even globally. There is a need for resource allocation to be administered so that it goes beyond having a limited number of support services and resources which students, staff, survivors, and other affiliated members of the institutions can access. In addition to that, there's also limited training as well of especially the key stakeholders responsible for case management, SGBV advocacy, and other related affairs. In terms of Same thing, kind of similar in BUK as well. There is a perceived lack of action and the concerns about transparency, reporting, and trust in the system in advocacy initiatives for AUN. For BUK, there is also limited engagement in policy implementation. While the BUK's Anti-Sexual Harassment Committee has student representation involved in it, are not well represented in policy implementation and decision making as well. Again, the purpose of these findings is not to cast a dark shadow on these institutions, but it's just to show where the gaps are, and this serves as an excellent, very great basis to provide recommendations and areas where the institutions can be strengthened and supported. And again, in line with the thematic areas which have been highlighted as well, we see that for the policies, overall the policies are good, but there is a need for regular policy review. There's a need for continuous monitoring and evaluation and implementation, because we know that SGBV is ever evolving, and perpetrators are finding more innovative ways to commit SGBV, that we as persons who are at the other end of that field, as advocates against SGBV, as persons who are who condemn SGBV, we also need to step up our game in terms of being always one step ahead of perpetrators. And so there is that need to constantly evaluate and re-evaluate the systems, the structures, the policies, and every other thing in place to effectively combat SGBV. Another critical point to note regarding key stakeholders is the need for increased female and gender equitable participation and leadership. Though all institutions have designated committees for handling SGBV cases, there is that room for improvement with students as well, and not just in aspects of participation, but also in leadership as well. There is a need for enhanced students effectively and constantly tackle the perpetrators of SGBV. So, moving on, we also have to really take prevention education seriously and awareness. We know that popular saying that goes as thus, prevention is better than cure, and there is an ever-increasing need for us to broaden and increase prevention efforts, in the sense that it extends to non-traditional students. For instance, not just having orientation, not just leveraging orientation programs as the only avenues for sharing information on prevention and awareness raising education against SGBV, but also regularly doing it beyond specific events like that. In the same way, for key stakeholders who have been identified, and by key stakeholders, examples of this include student ambassadors who have identified themselves as anti-SGBV advocates, members of the SGBV committee or anti-sexual harassment committee, offices that I have earlier highlighted that play a critical role in addressing SGBV in these institutions. So units like the gender center, units like the legal units, the health, Servicom, and other areas, there is a strong need for constant training sessions for these key stakeholders so that they'll be able to equip others, do step-down training, train the trainer sessions for others to also learn, thereby expanding education and information regarding sexual harassment and SGBV in whole, prevention and awareness. And there's also a need for targeted campaigns. We realize that we are in a very cultural society which is dominant with sociocultural norms and practices that could hamper SGBV being reduced, if not eliminated. And in order to tackle that, we need to customize our campaigns to be targeted. If we are looking at having a campaign to Gen Zs, for instance, it should be marketed in a way that would apply or appeal rather to Gen Zs, specifically leveraging social media and entertainment channels for them to be able to connect with better and get the learnings from it. Same thing with also targeting satellite campuses. So as earlier mentioned, there is that tendency for satellite campuses to receive less information and attention compared to the main campus. And so there's a need to extend and double down efforts on outreaching those areas so that they are also informed as well regarding SGBV prevention and intervention, as well as advocacy. We also need to involve them because they are very much as important as people in the main campus in combating SGBV. In terms of reporting mechanisms, it's not that the reporting mechanisms do not exist. The problem is that people, especially the students of these institutions, do not trust the reporting mechanisms. And so for one to be able to have that trust instilled in the institution, there is a need for institutions to consciously promote messages and actions that would spur especially students to trust in institutions. That way, to also to report cases, because we know that case reportage in Nigeria and even globally, cases are often underreported. So there's a need to promote trust. And we can do this by enhancing data transparency. If institutions are truly providing confidentiality, it should reflect in the services where when a student goes to inform a faculty member that is tasked with the responsibility of case management, that faculty member should confidentially handle that information and ensure that it doesn't go beyond the walls of where that discussion was made. Same thing is fully saying when they attend committee meetings, instead of going out to tell other people around them that, hey, this is the case that we discussed about, and then it becomes news all over, thereby discouraging more students to report from reporting. So we as well ensure that the data gotten from people is non-identifiable, cannot be easily traced, and from start to finish, it is something that is held with utmost confidentiality. That way, people will have trust in the system, and when people, they would also feel more comfortable in reporting or coming forward to the institution with cases that they have experienced or they know others have experienced as well. And so there's a need for institutions to also pair the whistleblowing platform with their own individual platforms, such as the Confidential Corner by the BUK and Confidential Hotline by UNN. In terms of supporting system, there is a need for increased funding, there's a need for increased allocation for us to effectively address SGBV in these institutions. Channeling funds into this area would provide the resources that are needed for properly attending to victims and survivors of SGBV, that there tends to be a high level of perpetration in that area because there is no proper lighting there. And so there is a need, with regards to that, there is a need for us to have more funds channeled in order to provide infrastructure such as proper lighting in order to avoid that from happening. And if such happens, for instance, CCTV serves as a very strong means of evidence to sanction that perpetrator and support the survivor in the resolution of the cases. We also need resource allocation to expand support services and staff, specifically in core areas such as counseling, such as security, health and support services. Again, this draws from the fact that from our engagement with these institutions, it's not that these support systems do not exist, they do exist, but there's a need for an increased number of personnel to tackle the cases that come to them. And this is not just speaking from a response angle again, also from a prevention angle. We need as many hands as possible for us to collectively tackle this menace of SGBV. And because of that, or in line with that, we also need a lot of funds to tackle that. Moving on, there's a need for increased accountability and monitoring, where institutions have to be more transparent in terms of handling cases. Whenever a case has been reported by someone, institutions are encouraged to keep that person in the loop throughout the course of the investigation and the outcome. Also striving to reduce bureaucracy, the processes involved in reportage, in checking in, and even in finding the outcome of the cases, because that discourages a lot of campus community members, particularly students, from coming forward. Institutions should also ensure accessible and trustworthy reporting systems, and this closely ties to reporting mechanisms when they're easily accessible, basically leveraging technology like the Yar'Adua's whistleblowing platform, and they're trustworthy, they're confidential. It encourages a lot more people to come forward to report cases, as well as see something when they see something before it becomes something else. In addition to this, we need to have set timelines for case resolutions, minimal timelines. It should not be too long, and there's a need for strengthened oversight as well on the administrative or management part. Last but not the least, there is a need for training and inclusion of students in advocacy and policy implementation, and this is in line with the student advocacy theme. This is because this project is geared towards promoting student inclusion and advocacy. This project is student-centric, and why this is so is because we know that students are the most vulnerable group when it comes to SGBV in higher education institutions because of the power dynamics that exist as institutions are power-centered. And so because of this, there's a need for students' empowerment, there's a need for student inclusion, there's a need for student advocacy, there's a need for student ownership. And this can only be achieved by strengthening the students' capacity as much as possible, encouraging them to be peer leaders, peer educators, peer advocates, while putting them up in places and responsibly training them to foster leadership in policy development and implementation. And when students take charge, other students come forward to speak out, and collectively they address the system alongside the institution, the management of the institution, the staff of the institution in the environments of learning, thereby curbing, if not eliminating, SGBV in our learning environments. And so drawing from these findings and recommendations which I have shared, this is just like a quick overview, a quick wrap-up of what we are proposing going forward regarding engagement with institutions in terms of preventing and intervening in cases of it. There's a need to have norms that might be harmful and impede the addressing of SGBV. Betrayed by the institution, they would not trust the institution. And if students don't trust the institution, they would not trust the institution. And if students don't trust the institution, they would not report to institution, and prevalence will continue to soar high and high in institution regarding SGBV. And we know our institutions are citadels of learning that want the best for their children, for their experience and outcomes. And so in line with this, again, I cannot overemphasize the importance of resource allocation and collaboration for resource and support systems, while also pairing that with accountability and monitoring as well, because when systems are accountable, when monitoring as well, because when systems are accountable, when systems are adequately monitored, when systems are adequately implemented, it may be monitored. When systems are adequately implemented, it makes the students trust the system and makes the student feel seen, feel ownership, and also educate other students. And a very wonderful avenue for this to be done is through edutainment, which is a combined word which stands for education and entertainment. So in other words, allowing students to take charge of what do they think are the best ways to educate their peers about SGBV, about when you see something, what do you do? In terms of bystander, proactive bystander, older would explain that to a younger person. And so again, in a generation where we have TikTok, we have Instagram, we have social media, there's a need to adapt to the ever-evolving changes which we have in our society to ensure that students especially are up to speed with prevention, education, and intervention strategies that they can use to safeguard themselves and others to address SGBV. And so with this point, I leave my closing charge to you all, encouraging you all to take action. Let's come together and take collective action. I want to extend my sincere gratitude and thanks to the foundation for entrusting me with this project. I do not take it for granted. I do not take it for granted. I also want to extend a deep gratitude to the institutions, AUN, BUK, and UNN, who opened their doors to me and allowed me to interact with them, staff and students. Thank you so much. I don't take it for granted. And I really commend these institutions for taking a step forward in having policies and structures in place to be able to not just address, but more importantly, is affiliated to an institution, to also take the mantle to see to it that institutions have an existing policy in place. Institutions implement that existing policy. Institutions put aside resources, have a purse, have a budgetary allocation that caters to the training, awareness raising, prevention education, bystander intervention education, as well as other affiliated things that would greatly contribute to combating SGBV in the institutions, while also ensuring that processes and outcomes are accountable, they are transparent, and they promote institutional trust instead of betrayal. Thank you so much for listening to me, and have a wonderful, great rest of the day.
Thank you very much, Sarah Agbo, for that presentation. I think we have learned, like myself, I learn, unlearn, and relearn from our research. Why personally I have some dissenting view regarding some research. My own campus is not Congo or Samaru. We have new sites, old sites. We have AKTH and we have SC, School of Continuing Education. And I am very sure the panelists too, in the course of their discussion, will set some things right. And on the next agenda, which is supposed to be keynote address, we'll have to skip that because she is not yet around. And we'll be moving to the next agenda, which is the video vignette titled The Power of Us. Thank you.
I was mopping Block C that morning. I didn't even see him.
Yeah.
After touching me like that, he just laughed, as if he did nothing wrong. This wasn't the first time. When my supervisor assigned me to clean his office, I tried to swap with another person, but I couldn't tell her why. I was so happy when I saw the office was empty, but then good afternoon, sir. I saw the look in his eyes. I just knew. I knew what he was going to do. He grabbed me and tried to make me sit on his lap. I told him no, but he said if I didn't do what he wanted. Come on. No, sir. No. Sir, please. Please, sir. He threw me out of his office like I was trash. That was when she walked up to me and asked me what happened. When I told her what he did to me.
Look, you have to report him.
I tried reporting him before, but nothing happened. I told her nothing would happen because I had reported him before. She showed me a website and assured me they were going to help me.
Mima, you'll be fine, okay? Everything will be fine.
I'm grateful you allowed me share my story of what he did to me. I will not be silenced.
A round of applause again, please. Very short, precise, concise, and insightful. Yeah, it's deeply insightful and thought-provoking. Now we can now see the power in us. And as a personal individual, when you have cases like this, don't be silent, please. And then that takes us to the next on our agenda, which is the panel discussion. And I'll have to introduce the moderator for the panel session, in person of Anissa Aminu Ahmad, a student champion from American University, Nigeria. It's about it. Yeah. Anissa Aminu Ahmad is a student champion project with Sheikh Musa Yar'Adua Foundation and a final semester computer science major at the American University of Nigeria, specializing in artificial intelligence to networking essentials. She has served as the Director of Academics for SITC, a member of Stallion Radio, and a volunteer with a student outreach project. As a student champion at the Sheikh Musa Yar'Adua Foundation, she is passionate about community service, advocacy, and creating safer space for women in tertiary institutions. Thank you.
Good morning once again, everyone. I would like to introduce our panelists for the panel discussion. We have our Dr. Abubakar Sadiq Hussaini, who is the Dean and Founding Chairman of the School of Engineering at AUN. So please, can you come and have a seat? Would also like to call on Professor Aisha Abdul Ismail, who is a Sorry.
Where am I sitting?
I would also like to call on Professor Aisha Abdul Ismail. Can you turn it off? I would also like to call on Professor Aisha Abdul Ismail, who is a seasoned academic at the Bayero University Kano. Can we please raise our hands? I would also like to call on Professor Nkadi Oyegebu, who is the Director of the Gender and Development Policy Center at the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. I would also like to call on Teniola Nefisat Balogun, who is a writer, a poet, and a sports enthusiast. Her works have been featured in several literary magazines, including Winkler's Dreamer and The Bridges Writer. She was the first female SUG sports director at the Bayero University Kano, and was also the pioneer lead rep of Pures in Nigeria initiative PIN in BUK. Tenny is passionate about driving inclusion in sports and organized the first para-sports competition in BUK. She's also a passionate gender advocate utilizing gender advocacy through sports and art. As campus ambassador for the Gender Justice Program in BUK and as part of a student-led intervention program, TENI leveraged sports as an avenue to instigate change and foster a safe and more inclusive campus environment. TENI is currently the moderator of Pain Connect Centers, Poets in Nigeria Initiative, and Program Officer of NAF Foundation. Can we please raise our hands for her? Last but not the least, I would like to call on Benjamin Okereke. Benjamin is a student at the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, and a student champion on the Promoting Safe and Equitable Tertiary Institutions through student-led advocacy campaigns and dialogue project with the Sheikh Musa Yar'Adua Foundation. He's a politically inclined Nigerian student with passion for tech, nature, and history. He believes real change happens through consistent efforts. Can we please raise our hands for Benjamin? Okay. We'll now start with the questions. We'll now start with the panel discussion. So I'm going to start by asking each one of them questions, and they're going to answer. And then when we're done with this discussion, we'll throw the questions and answers into the audience. Our first guest is Dr. Abubakar Sadiq Hussaini. So your first question is, as a leader in a private university, how does AUN's approach to addressing SGBV and safeguarding policies differ from that of public universities? And what lessons can that be applied to across both sectors?
Thank you. And once again to the student again. So, within the community, but what we started is, we are more of prevention than, so we try to orient. Okay, 2 minutes, no problem. So everything about us is prevention. Right when we admitted our student into our campus, or we hire new faculty. In American University of Nigeria, when we say faculty, we mean lecturer, which is in the Britain system. So we have a very intensive orientation where we orient both our faculty and students. So we give power to the student to tell them don't and don't. So from there, they will understand because they are coming from the secondary school where the same thing, the gender bullying mechanism where we can safeguard what will happen. But the anticipation of what will happen generally is by prevent, really, to be honest, about the prevention than the treatment. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next question
Thank you. Okay. And just be your lovely voice so that everybody can hear you.
UNN has been a part of the initiative to develop safeguarding policies and accountability frameworks, including the whistleblowing platform. In your experience, Ma, what have been the key challenges in implementing these policies effectively within the university?
Okay, thank you very much. UNN is a village university located in a semi-village or rural area. To me, it's a rural area, how we define it. UNN is a unique university where, learning, excellent learning, teaching, and research take place. And at the same time, UNN is just like a mini structure of what is happening in Nigeria in terms of politics. So you get teaching, you get learning, you get to research, and at the same time also, you get the political aspects full in UNM. At times with a little bit of rascality to dissect. You can see the area that I'm coming with in terms of challenges. I'll describe them in just briefly, in 3 major categories. First is the personnel. Some of the key challenges we have in the university, just like Sarah told us from the findings, you find the personnel. This personnel include the big administrators, starting from the vice chancellor to the smallest officer clerk in the university. These are the non-teaching staff. And at the same time, you also find the lecturers, who are supposed to be the mothers, from the tiny assistant graduate lecturer to the unique professor emeritus in the university. These are the staff and the personnel. And also the main students, who are the nucleus, the main part of the university. You remove the students of the university, then the university is, I'm a biologist, the university has no nucleus, cellulose, dead. So the students are part of the major challenges. The administrators are part of the major challenges, and then the lecturers, the teaching staff, are part of the major challenges in, in these sexual misconduct and policy, safeguarding policies, in making it implementable, okay? And you also find out that the institution also is part of it. An institution where there is no, in the rural area, you find out that where there is belief, Sarah even said that, it's part of the challenges where we have culture of silence. Don't say it. Don't say it. Anything that has to do with gender issues, rape, violence, physical, verbal, even other gestures, don't say it. So it becomes part of our, culture, and the victim goes traumatized, and all things that happen to her distressfully, or him. Boys are even being raped, in case you don't know that. It is by cultists, and theirs is ridiculous. Then from the institution, another challenge, measure the institution, where there is no key power. They don't have that power to do this, implement this, because some of us are, again, guilty. And another one is the society, I've just said it, being in a rural area where we have a culture of silence. The silent, don't say it, make una no talk, keep quiet, una go kill yourself, the victim dead there, you never talk, don't call. And if you dare talk, we squeeze your breath out of you. And she goes traumatized. That is the kind of culture we are building in. But thank God for social media. I told them nature will take care of all of them. Social media is one of it that is trying to take care. And then these girls that are coming out and the boys that are coming out at the same time, they have eyes now gradually being broken. So these are some of the challenges that impede or militate against the implementation of the society of which we are in. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ma. Can we please raise our hands? Policy reforms are needed to institutionalize anti-SGBV measures in Nigerian tertiary institutions beyond reactive measures. You're welcome, Ma.
Before I answer your question, Anissa, I'd like to make some corrections to the report that was just shared. With regards to BUK, already Mubarak has cleared the Zaria and Congo campuses. So with regards to the confidential corner, it is not only the only reporting mechanism. We have other formal and non-formal channels. In fact, the confidential corner was after the policy. So it is us doing more even after the policy. So, and also in the policy, students are guided, staff and third party are guided to notify or report to a trusted person. So that trustworthy aspect, I think, should be taken care of. With regards to prevention and awareness, again, orientation is just one channel of awareness creation. And even in orientation, all new students, level 1, level 2, from all campuses are invited. So it is not the only channel, and also all new students, not just level 1 students. Again, also students were involved in the development of the policy, and they are also part of the Sexual Harassment Committee. But I'm happy, like the consultant mentioned, there are certain aspects, there are certain ways we need to keep training our students on the issues of confidentiality as we're involving them in these aspects. So to answer your question, Anissa, like I mentioned earlier, policies are significant in curtailing the SGBV in Nigerian tertiary institutions, and because of its effect on both students, staff, as well as those that are involved. In BUK, we call them third party. And so it is important to look at the development of the policy as well as the implementation of the policy. It is not sufficient to only develop the policy if it is not effectively implemented. So some of what I can say is that regulatory agencies like NUC for us, universities, NCCE, and so on, all of those regulatory agencies need to make the design and implementation of policies on SGBV mandatory. For us in BUK, we have the Bayero University Sexual Harassment policy. Other institutions also have their own, but if it is not made mandatory, then universities choose to do it or not to do it, depending on their circumstances. Again, also, institutions should establish centers or units to coordinate and handle SGBV responses, like the Centers for Gender Studies, like the University Sexual Harassment Committee, and other units, institutions that will now take care of this and coordinate SGBV issues. Again, it is important to institutionalize because that will enhance compliance. You have a policy, you have a center, but if you are not continuously monitoring it and evaluating it, then they will just remain where they are, and they may not be. But with effective monitoring and evaluation, it keeps them on their toes, and they continue doing what they need to do effectively. Also, infusing SGBV education into the curriculum is very, very important. Sometimes ago in 2016, I think, we attended a program in NUC to infuse this gender and leadership training, I think, into our GSP course across the departments. And now in the Center for Gender Studies, we have a postgraduate diploma program on gender and strategic studies. Effective awareness creation within the university community, aware. If they are not aware, then they cannot report. They don't even know that something exists for them so that they can even tap into it. So it is important that this awareness campaign must be ongoing continuously so that it can be effective, people can know, sensitize, and its provisions, reporting sanctions to prevent rather than to punish. The idea is to prevent. We don't want it to happen. When it happens and the perpetrator is punished, still the victim, like we saw with, even though she was happy he was caught, but it still remains with her. Provision of safe spaces to strengthen reporting and enhance confidentiality. Institutions and organizations like the Shehu Musa Yar'Adua Foundation and others also need to support effective implementation of policy reforms. Thank you very much.
What is Thank you, Anissa. And first, I would like to make a correction. They are not victims, they are survivors. My professor, Professor Onyegikpo, and the other professor call them victims. We call them survivors, ma. Thank you. We call them survivors. So, I'm glad to say that my university, University of Nigeria in Nsukka, we, like the Gender and Development Policy Center, have really been working tirelessly to see that they curb the issues of gender-based violence on our campuses. And it is chaired obviously by the director here, Professor Onyekigbu, and she has been working really hard. I attended a session on sensitization for the first years, which was done on Monday, which is the 10th of March. Yeah, so our school, and as I've seen, BUK and AUN have been really been working on curbing this prevalent issue that is not just on campuses, but the society at large. But yeah, obviously there are still some pushback that we get, and it is evidence that we are not utilizing the resources or the tools that this current generation has provided us, right? I see that there are not intentionality in terms of awareness and advocacy campaigns from our institutions. Some schools like ours have 2 campuses, right? And we are making a sensitization or awareness campaigns on just the campus, right? And to be honest, some students within the school don't even know that, obviously I'm just saying this, they don't even know that there's a center called GenSense in our school. And also I don't know about AUN or BUK. This is not because we have not been putting efforts in these areas, but because of we are not being intentional about the advocacy campaigns we'll be making. I would prefer that we look at utilizing social media as one of the tools to spread information about this. It's actually a very serious issue. 1 in 3 girls gets affected by this. Just imagine 3 girls, 1 person is affected by such a devastations. To spread awareness about people, because basically attention is like the gold of the 21st century. Companies spend billions of dollars, publicize, advocate, spread awareness through these platforms, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Gen Zs don't use Facebook that much, but all these platforms, we need to be there, right? We need to put, show the Gen Zs and Gen Alpha, UNEC, or other campuses around, educate, right, to sense this agency, you can the problem solved.
Thank you, Anissa. I have just one answer to that, and my voice. In 2020 GBV on campus, we organized a women's sports tournament with support from, of course, the Yar'Adua Foundation, RAPA, and the Center for Gender Studies in BUK. Now, after following all protocols, getting permission from the school to carry out these, we had to invite some key stakeholders in the university, and that was where some of the pushbacks came, and it was denial. My team and I, we kept getting questions like, GBV does not happen in BUK while we are addressing this, right? Denial. And I think it has been said today that gender-based violence occurs everywhere. Prevalence may differ, but it occurs. But of course, that was not the response we gave immediately, because we don't want it to look like, we're pointing fingers. Advocacy is a collective effort. We need everyone's hands on deck. So that was why I said, trying to fight the school. Rather, from does gender-based violence occur in Bayero University Kano too? How do we make our campus truly safe for all students? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, as you are from the AUN, you can understand right from the SGA, which is Student Government Association. So I think Mubarak introduced you as a director of SITC. So you know your school that is the faculty in American University. We use school as a faculty of, so we return the faculty to the lecturer. So SITC School of Information and Technology. So she was a director because it's a season for 1 year. In everything that we do, we involve our students. I saw what Sarah mentioned, which a lot of things are true, even including with the reduction of the budget. Yes, it's the inflation that it's not only the student-led advocacy that will reduce the budget. It's all across everything. So, we encourage the student to advocate. So we listen to the student. Anything that the student call us, even at any time, the student leader, we respond to. So not only the gender-based violence or student-led advocacy for the AUN. It's a model for us that we really want the rest of the university, both private and the public university in Nigeria, to adopt. We are lucky to have I think the director or acting director of Yar'Adua Foundation about 2 years ago, Dr. Amara. He was with us at AUN about four years ago. They were the one introduced the whistleblower platform. We have it in the AUN, which implemented in the AUN. Amara went to AUN about 4 years ago. We welcomed them. We gave them a platform. They are still in our server. So it's up to the student to use it and up to the focus the fear. And that is the most challenging. Some of the students will come crying, the way you mentioned, they are the survivor, not the victim. We try to prevent because we don't want that thing to happen with the student, maybe at their early age. But you can see some of the students, they'll be in the same room, but that happen with a predator or the survivor in the same room. And some of the time they try to teach them how to even harass even themselves, not even their partners. So what am I saying here? The cases is most of the sexual harassment, it happened between, which is obviously a lecturer and the student, because there is a little bit gap of the size. So I'm the boss, so I'm her boss. So I can take advantage of her mark. That is the truth. Or through the staff. Okay, the dean and his executive secretary. It was difficult. We advocate a lot of things, but thank God it's not happening, but it's happening and unnoticed, and no one can even see it. And at the end, even the parent doesn't even know it. Even at AUN, it happened. Even last week, happened. But we keep telling our students, through the advocacy of the student-led, tell your student, tell your peer, invitation for the party, invitation to go out. The ladies' night during the Wednesday, which in Yola, it happened. There is a club called Azuri. Saturday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, like this. But you can see a student with their peer inviting 3 students to go out for the party, which no one will know. And you cannot stop them from going. We only stop them to go out after midnight. But when they come back, even if it is at 3 a.m., we must allow them to go in. But what will happen there when they go there to come back? At the end, the male student control the female because he owned the car and he owned the drinks. Yes, so sometimes they will come back, they will be telling you about things of raping, things of something. But where that thing happened? Not within the AUN. It happened from their club. So how can you solve that problem? Even when the students are advocacy. So we are telling the student, even including the parent, that's why we invested so much amount of the orientation, even when the parent come. We say charity begins at home. Please tell your children, tell them, especially the female. Yes, it's true. The female, most of the time, they take advantage of because somebody offering you drink is a free you take. Why are we different outside the country? Because there is no way you can buy a girl drink. Even if she's a girlfriend, she will not allow. You take your drink, she take your drink, everybody pay. And if it is at the same table, you share the bill. So a lot of things take advantage. What happened last week in this thing? They went out with a girl, 2 boys, then she tested the wheat. But the guy told her there is a Nigerian wheat and Ghanaian wheat. So the Ghanaian wheat is more stronger than the Nigerian wheat. She said, okay, take the Nigerian wheat. lighter than the this thing. But before you notice, she realized that at the end, it's not even her boyfriend that used her, it's another even person, her friend of this one. So how can you complain this one? So the same thing, now we are in another generation whereby LGBT, gay is everywhere, lesbianism is everywhere. Not starting from the university, right from the secondary school. Some of the girls, we spoil them with lesbianism. In the text message, what they are saying, because I see a sign of her that she too, she's a lesbian. What? They normally put a chain here. That is the indication. But when you see in Africa, that is the chain in your leg is the chain the same thing with your distance. That's correct. Oh, I saw her cover of the mobile phone. It's like a rainbow. So she showed a sign. So the same thing with the gay. So there's a lot of things that we need to see, and we support a lot of advocacy. We support a lot of the student coming to. That's why you can see we in AUN, we are really open-ended. In the phase of orientation, and I can invite each one of you to ask a lot of our students. We tell them the truth, and that I cannot buy a mobile phone. That is a peer pressure. Just this iPhone. A girl cannot use a techno that her dad gave it to her, but she preferred to get from her boyfriend in the university. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Anissa. We're talking about data research as well as legal frameworks. Of course, we know that when we talk about data, it provides evidence. And you cannot be able to do effective advocacy without data that will tell the story for you. So students can use data to engage in evidence-based advocacy for policies, strengthening of reporting and response mechanisms, confidentiality, and the rest. In terms of research, it will enable students collect data as well as examine causes of SGBV in their institutions, examine prevalence, examine accessibility of reporting channels and redress mechanisms and the like. So if they're able to do research, then they will be able to collect the data that will be useful to move the advocacy against SGBV. In terms of legal frameworks, it will help students to understand how to navigate SGBV issues without clashing with legal requirements. We now have the Sexual Harassment in Tertiary Educational Institutions Prohibition Act. That is one thing that students could cite as a reference point whenever the need arises. There are others, national and international, but at least this is the main one, national and even international policies and practices to counter institutional resistance. Thank you very much.
What mechanisms will be put in place to ensure that anti-SGBV policies
Thank you again. Because our audience here is mainly students, so I'm going to comment a little bit on what Timmy from BUK said, in terms of maybe not having the right approach in going to the people at the high quarters, maybe the vice chancellors or the executive officers in the university. Dear students, let me tell you this. Make una tear una eyes, and I'm glad this is the generation that have already been able to tear your eyes. The approach is very, very important with respect, but you are very focused on what you're going to do. What am I going to do? I'm going to talk to my vice chancellor with all this respect. Don't, and I repeat, don't spare the words that you're going to use. Make sure that your words are respectful, but mean what you say and act what you say. They will listen to you, whether they like it or not, because you are the main targets of these things that are happening in the university. So, Temi, you walk bottom up. Before you go up, you have already done your good work on the ground. You've done your garden, planted your things, watered them. I'm going to show it to my vice chancellor. Whether he knows my lettuce are coming up green or my tomatoes are coming out red, that is just the other one. Then at the same time, you walk, if depending on the university and the administration, you walk top, bottom, depending the type of university and the situation you are in and the issues you're talking about. So go with that approach home. Back to my question. I will just use an example. I'm a researcher, more like a professor, more than a researcher. I worked with MacArthur Foundation and Ford Foundation during the HIV and AIDS prevention AIDS care. See this thing when they call awareness is a very, very powerful tool. We have to use it and use it effectively and efficiently. So this is one of the mechanisms we will use for promotion of safeguarding, policies in our university by our students. Awareness. 2 days ago, just like Benjamin, also inclusive, all the students in UNN, those who can, make sure you have item 7 for them all. Just ordinary pure water and biscuit, we entice them, they will come. And they heard. It was a very beautiful, I wish we have some clips to show you. And at the end, what were the tools? They do not know much about it. And then the students themselves, they don't know about it. Then what is the existence of if I have to do research and research? So immediately we found out that gap, we pounced, especially for the target groups, the first-year groups that are usually the prey of the predators. It is happening all over. It has even happened. This one, when they talk to Una, it has happened, and it goes on in the university. There's no. So for that HIV thing, we went through the whole state of for 10 years. We went through with the help of MacArthur Foundation, NYSC. We went through the whole using orientation cap. We dressed like the students themselves, everything like their cap and everything, and then we were able to create this awareness. This program did, and it did. They trained graduates who were there. Graduates went into all the, there's no local government, you don't find a copper. They went into the secondary school, they trained the peer educators, and the peer educators trained their parents and their siblings. So these are all the things. Apart from that, we have posters and bills marked all over the whole place. It was jingles, they said the Gen Zs and the Gen Alpha, what they call them. They love posters, they love music. We had drama in the awareness campaign we did how many days ago, and it worked really well. Then jingles, role plays, drama, peer education is very, very also vital. Then in session, thank God for my academic friend here, Prof, what we are inserting, mainstreaming, not even issues of gender into the general courses, that every student that enters the university, there is a course, an exam for it in the School of General Studies. We have in the UNO also, by God's grace, the College of Postgraduate Students had approved that we start gender center diplomas and the masters and PhD studies on gender issues. On this case, I would just rest a little bit.
could set up ring lights, but that wouldn't be practical. That's right. GBV is a sensitive issue, and there are always going to be whispers and hearsays and all of that. So you always want to get your facts right. So secondly, advocacy is not something you do alone. It can be weary, time-consuming. So you want to make sure you're not in it alone. You always want to have support from peers and even the authorities. In Bayero University Kano, for example, there was the Center for Gender Studies, and it really helped further and involved CSOs who are interested in such cases. So, for example, there was a popular issue that was reported to the school authorities. They were not taking up and they are not taking up the case as it should be, or there are some issues with transparency. You've tried to talk to them, you've consulted with some of the authorities, and you're not getting the responses you want. So you could always, take it up a notch and meet with CSOs. For example, the Yar'Adua Foundation, you have RAPA and others, and try to see if these external
Okay, thank you. That are related to issues of gender-based violence. And the Sustainable Development Goals 5.2 strategically aims at eliminating all violence targeted at women and girls in public and private spheres. So, we have to know that a safe and inclusive campus is not a privilege, it's a right, and we must fight for it. For a girl to be in a campus, for a girl to be, or a guy even, to be in a safe campus, it's not like they have a privilege. I'm privileged to be here. I'm honored to be a member of this panelist. But for her to be there, it's our right to be safe, right? She has the fundamental human rights that every one of us has, regardless of gender. So students advocates could utilize international laws that are related to this and bring them up to the faculty members and the school administration and say, oh, this is a basic right that we students will enjoy, right? And definitely there should be provisions for us, right? You don't just stop at creating policies. You don't stop at implementing them, you enforce them. So I believe students advocates should utilize this very well. It's outlined. There is the Sustainable Development Goals. A lot of it outlines or are related to issues around gender-based violence, around equality, because we are all humans and we all have rights that we all should enjoy. Thank you.
Okay. Why this is very easy for us and why we are happy with it, and when Sadia, Regina, and Sarah reach out to us, that we take it like it's just a very simple for us because we already have a structure. So supporting for that is very easy for us. In our catalog, the code of conduct is there. Your 4 years or 5 years plan is towards the last end of the catalog. From the beginning, from the page 1 to up to 35 pages are all talking about the policy and guidelines. So we already formalized the student-led advocacy in American University of Nigeria. So I'm not only the Dean of School of Engineering, I'm the administrator for grant and contract for Atiku Institute for Development. So American University of Nigeria is the first development university in Africa. So we have, I'm heading the development aspect of that. So we have a lot of funding for human-led, youth-led advocacy, which in the both women and the youth-led, one of the biggest components is related to the gender-based violence. So we have the funding supporting this thing. Because one of the difficult things is the institution to have the funding to support this one, because the advocacy is really, really hard without funding. So within our budget, the way we, like 30% of AUM budget go for the internet technology. So we have about 1 to 3% related to the judiciary and the student-led advocacy. So that's why when Yar'Adua Foundation, thank to them, and the Canadian Foundation, they're supporting this one, and which we are all here, and we really appreciate American University to be part with UNN and BUK. With this talented student to be part of it. Olua is one of our students, which is our alumni. He's worked with the Canadian embassy. So the real is anywhere you see our student, we thank God that we do not have so many issues with gender-based violence. We did not have, even with our community. And it's because of this development component that we have in American University. So we have funding that we support this one. Yar'Adua Foundation, we're supporting our students, which you are part of it, and we can continue contributing to that. So thank God, because I'm part of academic and I'm part of the administration, and with the development, I'm heading one. So I think for that one, even the policy, even the gender, and she's not here, the mobile gender reached out to us to start formulating policy against that. So our own is easy, it's just to take to see where we are missing, because everything is involving. Before we did not have whistleblowers. When they reached out to us, we included whistleblowers. So each and every student of AUM, once we give you the catalog, you can see the policy and the guidelines. So it's a great institution. It's a great institution related to the judiciary. They're taking care of the gender-based violence. Thank you.
I thought my last question will be on the issue of BUK and many other public universities. Okay. Learning from global best practices across the world, especially on interventions and initiatives that will enhance prevention, effective reporting channels, and redress mechanisms. However, it is important to note that whatever global best practices are adopted, they need to be domesticated so that it aligns with the institution's ethics and culture for acceptability. And that is what we do in BUK. It is part of our objectives, the objectives of the center and all our policies. Anissa, okay.
Okay, thank you. Awareness has already been, talked about, so I won't dwell much into awareness, but there's still this awareness that is very, very important. If I were the students, I will start with the awareness, taking it to the dean of, depending on the university, because every university is very, unique. UNN is unique. I will start with the dean. I will not start with the vice chancellor because he will not have time for me. I will not start with the DVC academic or administration. He will not have time for me. I will start with the dean of student affairs, who is a custodian of the students. He is the father of the students. I'll go first to the dean, explain to him, because he's also part and one of the committee members of misconduct policy in UNN. I will start with the dean. Once the dean has known about this, you will carefully also go to the dean now instructs all the deans, faculties in the whole university. They know about it, and then from that dean to the head. The dean of each faculty there goes to the heads of the department, various heads of the department, from the various heads of creating awareness, so from the various head leaders, coordinators of courses. Then the coordinator of courses now go to the student, the faculty. They have a student, like in education, FESA, faculty of education student. Then their science education department also has a group. They own these things. You get them involved. Make sure that they are involved. They know they will participate. We will just be facilitators, telling them this is the, because they can go out of gap, then you push them a little bit to the line. They go this way, you are out of line. That is what. And if you give them that power, the sky is their limit. And students understand students themselves. They dress themselves the same way they talk to themselves. They understand their language, and it will go effectively a long way to doing that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So, a while back, I saw the Yar'Adua Center put out a call for student champions, and it had me thinking. Today, we have so many clubs, associations in universities, state associations, association of engineers, and whatnot. So, and I thought, what if advocates too have a structure like that? You don't have to, if there's a structure, you don't have to worry about, okay, the loud voices leaving and then new ones are coming in. You have to start the orientation. You have to start to give them orientation. They have to start from scratch. But if there's a structure where new students could learn from the loud voices, they would just have to pick up from where those people left. Because if I think back to 2023, when we had the student-led intervention, the result, the aftermath of that led to, let me put it this way, the event was the basis of my final year project, Sports and Gender-Based Violence in Bayero University Kano. And the audience we had during that event were my population. And during the course of surveys and during the course of data collection, realized that most of them were already in their final year. So if you go to Bayero University Kano today and ask new students that in 2023 these events happened, most of them would not remember. Most of them would not be they don't even know about it. So if there's a structure, it would help continuity. And now, secondly, I think we have to find a way to push awareness with actual policy change. We said we wanted, clear reporting mechanisms. Thank God we have Campus PAL, we have the whistleblowing platform. We want clear policies on GBV in Nigerian universities. There's a safeguarding policy in BUK, AUN, and UNN. The Sexual Harassment Bill in tertiary institutions have also been passed. Now, what I would expect from schools is a clear disciplinary framework, one that is transparent and trustworthy. Because if as a student advocate, you're pushing for something and perhaps there is a case that you wish to amplify, and at the end of the day, you do not hear reports from all of that. You would not trust the system. So you want to see that your efforts have yield good results. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the question. I believe student advocates could build relationship and coalition with faculty by identifying professors that support students' rights, that connect them to key faculty members that could help in implementing policies, though I know that a lot of our schools have policies in place currently, implementing policies and enforcing them. So from our individual departments, we know that there are some lecturers that, okay, they support the rights of students, right? Get close to them, speak to them about the movements that you want to bring on campus and how prevalent the issue of gender-based violence is on the change around. And he said that when I get a written brief for him, he'll work with it, right? And also, following up on what you said on continuity, we created a platform or an account, basically. We created an account on Instagram, Campus Voices for Change, and we want that platform to be a place where we post educative and awareness posts, basically. I do graphic design, and so I'm the one basically managing it. It's kind of low currently because of the activities going on and our advocacy campaigns that we are currently handling. But that platform is for us and for other volunteers and other participants of the change that we want on campus. So I believe change can happen, but it takes a lot of time, and it's hard. Yes, it's hard for a better society that we all want. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nafisa. I would just like to emphasize on the reporting aspect. It's very, very important that the case, any issue is reported. And student advocates need to also advocate and work on colleagues and classmates to report. Because if it is not reported, how can the system be assessed? I hope it is clear. We need students, that is what we have been working on, reporting. It is very, very important to report. Whatever, the system has been made to be transparent. We are there, we keep saying we are there, but reporting is not as it should be. I'm not saying that it doesn't happen. You can never say that it will not happen in an institution, but it should be reporting. So I'm calling on all the student advocates and the students here, please, help us, somebody you trust. Not even the CGS or the whatever, if you don't feel confident. Get somebody you trust and the information will go up. Even if it is the dean, even if it is the HOD, because they are part of the channel. If it is the HOD, then you don't tell the HOD, it is the dean. But get somebody you trust, and then that person will move. And that is why we have several capacity building workshops and trainings that we are trying to do for level coordinators, examiners, HODs, deans, and the rest. Thank you very much.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thank you very much, the organizer of this program. I am Ridwan Monerudin Okoyemi from National Board for Technical Education, MBTE. I have the blessings of my director seated here with me. Program, it was stated Tertiary institution, and I'm very sorry to say I sense discrimination in the invite. The discrimination of the invite, I'm saying, it's in the sense that when we're talking about tertiary institution, we have three sub-tier of tertiary institution, which is university, polytechnic, and colleges of education. These are the three sub-tertiary institutions that we have. And the topic we're discussing today is a very sensitive topic, that the way it is happening in the university is also happening in polytechnic and university. So I want to draw the attention of this organization. This magnitude will be conducted. Please, I want them to deem it fit to invite some polytechnic and colleges of education students. It is very important. That is number one observation. Number two, when we are talking about sexual and gender-based violence, honestly, having listened to all the presentation, the panel discussion, I felt there is something that is missing. And what is, we must dictate most of the things that is pushing most of our lecturers to harass our female children. And first thing I would like us to draw our attention is indecent dressings. It is very important. When you go to most of our campuses, the way our ladies dress, you understand, you are sending a message to even we, our age, their age groups, talk less of the lecturers. You understand? You are passing a message to them at some point the way you dressed. I've been to, I was a former student leader. I've held the position of national president for all polytechnic students in Nigeria. I've been to many campuses and polytechnics. I've witnessed some programs. You understand? So at the cost of matriculation or any event celebration, the way our ladies dress, honestly, is totally worrisome. That is number one. Number two, we must also address the issue of sex for grade, which is very important. We have a lot of our students nowadays that to find them in their classroom is very extremely difficult. They will not attend class, but they believe that, yes, they have the body, they can go and, influence the lecturer with their sex. You understand? The lecturer will give them the grade. Now, if for instance, now a lecturer who have mastered with that kind of attitude, now seeing a novice who doesn't have that mindset, you understand, it will actually lead to sexual harassment. Number three is content creation. Most of the content that are being created in the country today, in the social media and all of that, is not encouraging the matter. It's not encouraging the matter. All the sensitive parts of our women have been exposed. You understand? So most of our lecturers are saying it is not a new thing. This is at least this Gen Z generation. They understand the message when you tell them this is what you want. So these are the things that I felt next. We should also tackle it, and I want the organizer of this program, rather, to take note of this. Thank you, and God bless you all.
All right. Sorry, can I speak to that? Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you. But when you talk about the drivers of GBV, you could discuss lightning, poor policies, and every other thing. But please, you can never blame a victim of GBV. Never. There is no excuse for GBV. If you go to the core north, you would see cases where someone on a full hijab from head to toe being abused. When you go and check reports on GBV, you would hear that 5 years old, 7 years old, 10 years olds are being abused. So please, what you're doing is giving excuses for perpetrators, and that is unacceptable. Thank you very much.
Hello. Can I say one thing? Truth, you can never squeeze it, no matter how hard it is. Those girls clapping, they're clapping because it suits you. But we can also take cognizance that males are not emotional. To have to help, we will not come out from this place. We know what is good and what is bad is bad. As a mother and a Christian, if you want to put your food through your nose, you can put and you see what will happen to you. something that is not decent is not decent. But I'm also begging our men that, if you look at something that is not nice, why are you going to chase that person? Leave her to her madness. Let her madness lead her to where it will lead her. That is number one. Two, if we take it on research, evidence-based, that indecent dressing has no significant, and I repeat, SGBV, full stop. I'm not for you. Dress up decently. Dress up decently, please. If you respect yourself, dress up decently. But the men should not go after dogs that, backing on them. If you have 50 indecent girls dressed in a street and you...
Hello.
For great, it is both ways. That's the only thing I want to answer.
Student, see, this is a policy forum. What he's saying, he started by telling you he was a former student leader. So it's experience. And we cannot remove from that. We cannot remove from that. Ask her, any student, or ask him, that enter my class with indecent dress, I will ask her to go out. We are private university, she paid. But when you check my syllabus, that is the contract between I and the student. We cannot remove dressing away from that. It's not the way they call the survival. Men brain. Imagine in the university, number of faculty do you have? Do you think all the teachers, all the lecturers in BUK, are they normal? They are not. They are not all, yes. I can categorically tell you, yes. Even in your society, even in your neighbor, when we start checking mental distance, then you can understand. It's true. There is a man, even if they see the human hair, it's trigger them. It's go like a lion. That is the prevention that we are taking. This gentleman is contributing to what we, the policy maker, that they are trying to give us to take into account. I'm telling you the truth. American University is a very freedom university. But some like allow the student to wear anything to go to their distance. You cannot in my class. You just cannot. You just cannot. I'm a normal human being, but I will not allow you to enter. Not only the faculty, of course, you can even sanitize your fellow peer student. When we say a normal human being, if we are all normal, what is different between men and animals is the brain. Why the students are propagating within the student? Because the person that tried to do that is not normal. He's like animal. That's why you can see dog and goat doing all this one in public, because they are animal. Imagine the case for one professor. It's a very big professor in University of Lagos. Imagine if without BBC to undercover this thing. It's somebody with a respect, even the university are giving him high regard. It's in several committees. But they expose him. They expose him. Sex for grade is there. It's there in BUK. It's there in UNN. It's there in AUN. But until when you cut, then you say this is the thing. But and of course, when somebody coming is telling, oh, Ash, you dress somehow. So imagine a boy coming to my class with short knicker, like going to play football. Not even short knicker close to here, like this. And it's a boy. Come on, if you are going to the beach, you can go. You know where to go to the beach, right? But university, our learning environment is not a beach. It's just like going to the church. I know, I have a lot of friends which are Christian. I'm a Muslim, but I went to Baptist school. I understand what is missionary. There is still a church when you go with the skirt. The pastor would not allow you to enter. forget about the skirt. When you go with the trouser, cannot allow you to. So for us to accept what is really happening with our society, we need to look inward to understand our fault. You are Gen Z, when one of you is mentioning, it's true. But we are not telling you, don't be Gen Z. Go spend all your time in social media. It's your time. During our forefathers, if you have grandfather for like 7 grandfathers to reach you, those the 7th one, if they are traveling, they use camel and donkeys. Now, forget about the car. Even the plane from here to UK can take you less than 5 hours. But before, it's about 8 hours. Yeah, I'm coming. There is a AI. We do not allow you to don't use AI. No, you can use it. It's your time. That is your generation. Your generation will come and go, but another generation will come where robot will do everything for you guys. Although was just asking me about the Stella, I was part of the person that designed sensor of we come here, do we brag from it? No. Have mental issues. In outside the country, when somebody in your family, imagine somebody raping his daughter. Come on, we have a lot of story which she can tell you. A lot of lesbianism and this thing. Some is her uncle. Some is her auntie. Auntie that do this one. So please, we need to take that into account. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much for the responses that came from that. I think she said my response already. But I just want to first start by, on behalf of the High Commission of Canada, thanking everyone for being here today. We're glad to be able to support this type of important conversation and discussion. And definitely we believe SGBV is important, gender-based violence is important, and combating it in the tertiary institutions also very important. So thank you very much to all our panelists for being here. Second thing, I can attest to Dr. Ash, he would send you out of your class. He sent out a couple of my friends out for indecent dressing. You're wearing a bathroom slippers or a palm slippers, he would send you out for that. So talk less about your dressing. And I think number 3, for me, speaking as both a victim and a survivor, I would tell you, no matter what, you never ever blame a victim because of how he or she is dressed. You never do. It's wrong. It's wrong for you to say, oh, you were because of how you were dressed, or because it's wrong. How you're dressed does not determine what someone should do to you. Yes, some people, they wear provocative dresses. Yes, that happens. We accept that. However, as a man, it's not a reason for you to assault. You assaulted because you wanted to, not because the person's dressing called you to. So I don't think that should be a reason as to why lecturers, be it male, be it females, trust me, and I think also one conversation that doesn't happen often is males being assaulted. Because trust me, I'm speaking from the point of a victim. It happens. I wasn't wearing a miniskirt. I wasn't wearing a tank top. I was dressed properly, I'm sure. It happens. You're young, you're little, you're a baby. You're a young boy. You left at home with housemaids. You don't know what you're doing. They tell you, you need someone to play with you. They tell you, oh, let's play hide and seek, let's play mommy and daddy. You don't know what that is. You get assaulted, you get harassed. It lives with you forever. You grow up, one day you realize that something happened to you, and then it's too late to talk about it. But regardless, doesn't mean it's your fault. So I think that's just the little thing I want to say. Once again, thank you to everybody for being here. Thank you for having us, and to the Yar'Adua Foundation, thank you very much for taking on this initiative. I'm proud to say I'm an alumni of the American University of Nigeria, and yes, thank you very much.
Is anything here, we will not leave. My name is Mrs. Joyanne Bruce Ezrin from Committee of Vice Chancellor. I'm here with my colleague, Mr. Terra. And this is our third encounter with Shehu Musa Yar'Adua Foundation, and it's just been really beautiful. And I'm really happy to be here again for the third time. and you guys, you need your flowers for what you're doing. You're becoming an authority in sexual-based violence and the safety of Nigerian universities, and we're very interested in what you have to share. Statement of men are attracted to what they see, women are emotional. I think that we're in 2025 and saying and justifying what somebody did. Let me tell you something. Some of these lecturers get employed abroad, and then these students come into the office, into the class with bomb shots, and they dare not. So why is it affecting the Nigerian community? Is it that we don't have self-control? Is it a problem, or is it mental health? Or do we need to employ a center for mental health also in the university? Because I keep hearing this justification, and it pisses me off, I won't lie. That's one. Then the second thing I want to say is, this my brother here from MBTC. Yeah, he said something that I remember that was the question from the last time we met. Polytechnic, there's no about tertiary institution in Wholesome. That should be corrected. And I think that question was answered, and I hoped that as we were coming now, that will be addressed. But still, he's still asking the same question. So I'm hoping that the next time we see, it will not be a question where he will come and ask again. Okay. So the other thing I want to say again is that Committee of Vice Chancellor have 274 Vice Chancellors as members. Yeah? We have quarterly meetings 4 times a year. And this is a really good platform, a strong stakeholder to implement whatever we're doing. But guess what? I'm looking at your case studies. Like I said the last time, just 3 universities out of 274 is not good enough. You guys are doing a great job. I see all the data and everything that you're doing. But you have to cover more South, and even the West that has the highest amount of university in Nigeria. So I think if you cover the Minister of Education to implement some of these things so that it becomes a reality, because one thing Professor Aisha said is, it's not just the documentation, it's the implementation. We have spoken these things enough. Just 2 weeks ago, a wedding was cancelled because the bride discovered that the father of the groom was somebody who swore that she would not leave the university until he sleeps with her. That's somebody's reality. And people die from these things. People, their destiny or whatever they were supposed to be become cut short because of somebody's mistake or somebody's inability to control his urges. So I think that all the talking, we have had all these data. How do we make sure that as we are speaking, somebody is not being molested today? Or somebody is not carrying a lecturer's picture to church to pray? And so Professor Aisha, Professor Indika, I don't know if I'm from, and Dr. Abubakar to answer this, because they are representing their universities directly and they are the top in this panel. Now, in the report Sarah gave, she said from her findings, in terms of reporting all of these violence, she said confidentiality and follow-up is a problem. That's one. It is very sensitive. And so if confidentiality is a problem, there's a very big problem. I know Professor Aisha was talking about, please tell your people to report. But then if there's already a confidentiality problem, how does this, that's for AUN. For BUK, she said, confidential corners provide animosity, but trust remains the main issue. Trust remains the main issue. So who are the people in this committee? Why were they put in this committee? Were they qualified? How trustworthy are they? Because if I am raped, for instance, and I come to you and I don't trust, I will keep it to myself and die in silence. And Nigerians don't have where you say you are going to a therapy session. We don't do that. White people, black Americans will go to the barber shop. But Nigerians just soak it in because they don't want stigmatization. They don't want anything to affect their education, because at the end of the day, if there's trust issue, there's a possibility that one lecturer knows one lecturer, they go to one club, and then they discuss your matter, and then a lecturer is coming to the exam hall to say, you will not graduate without me. Openly. I've seen it happen. Openly. That somebody will pick your name during your projects and tell you that I must be your supervisor, and if I'm your supervisor, you will not graduate without my marks. That's a reality. That's somebody's reality. So for UNN, She said bureaucratic formal channels discourage timely reporting. So the question is, for evidence purposes, you need to report these cases timely. Evidence that they need to go do medical checkup to be sure that that student is not even lying, because students can also be very funny. So if timely report is a problem for UNN, then how do we go forward in terms of making the university safe? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, madam. So we in AUN, the whistle blowing, the confidentiality, you know, most of the thing, it do happen, but most of the thing happen outside AUN. Like as I mentioned, because in Yola we have ladies' night every Wednesday, where our students go outside and enjoy, or Friday and Saturday. Then it's a platform whereby if it happened to A, and A doesn't want to report, he or his friend can report too. But them, they do not believe in the system, thinking that their parent would know, want their parent to know. That is one. We have zero tolerance of corruption and sexual harassment. Majority of our students, they come from the rich people in Nigeria. Sometimes a student can even buy faculty a ticket to go back to his town in Ghana because of the mark. It happened in the AUN, it happened with the maths teacher, and we sacked the person. Student been buying ticket for him to travel, he's from Ghana. Or to come to Abuja, student will buy for him. In case of applying, filling the form, there are certain things if you did not fill up, so it will become incomplete. One email, and we receive one email in our desktop. Then, the second, one of the advantage in AUN, a lecturer will not hold one student. Our system is different than British system. She can select the courses that she wants, and she can select the faculty, because the courses are allocated according to the faculty. If she doesn't want to be in my class, she will go till her will never meet in the class in the same course. It's a selection courses that they do, they pick. And every courses, like me, the courses that I'm teaching, the same thing some lecturers are teaching similar to that one. So we cannot even meet or somebody to say, okay, sex for grade. That's why we never, sex for grade, we never have that issues in American University of Nigeria. We never have that issue. But we have a lot of issue through the project. A lecturer asking the student to go and meet them at home, in his house, or in the hotel. We have that cases. And every case, pardon? Okay. Yes, every case there, we never leave any case unturned. Yeah, anything the person will go. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that question. One, the Center for Gender Studies in Bayero University was strategically located. Strategically located in the sense that it was not within the main campus or the middle of the campus, but at the behind. In fact, there is no building after it. So, and that was deliberate. Meant for therapy per se, the way you spoke about it. But you had, like you said, I have been emphasizing on reporting. So some that you will come to find somebody that you will report to. Individually, even before the Sexual Harassment Committee, we were participating. When something happens and it was reported to the university, we will be handpicked to counsel or to investigate and provide redress and so on. So by the time we became directors, we kept doing that because we already have practice. And some of the cases that we handled transparently. But of course, issues of sexual harassment, like we have been saying, are sensitive. So you will not just come and put it on the bulletin
that we have handled this case and this is how we did it, and so on and so forth. So what I'm saying about reporting and about trust is that you have to report, and for you to see whether your problem has been taken care of, redress has been given to you, before you are able to assess whether there is trust or there is trying to say that all the facilities, all comfortable to feel that, yes, I think if I report here, I will not be reported, I will not be discriminated. Students to report. Oh, sorry, we need those that have been victimized and are survivors to report before, and then something needs to be done. So please, it is a two-way issue. Students need to report. The authority needs to ensure that they handle it confidentially, they handle it effectively, and they do what they need to do. Again, members of the University Sexual Harassment Committee are eminent members of staff. Some of us that have been working individually, and then now we're part of the group, and others, we have the members of the university legal services, the Dean of Law, Dean of Student Affairs, Director, Health Services, and the rest. And now, just to include, I don't know how we skipped it. Of course, we're humans. We need to include Director Security also, because of something also that happened that we saw, how managed? Director Security is not there. And then we also need to strategically look at the membership of students. Just now, one of the issues we're handling, we realized that we cannot discuss this issue with students, even though it is in their interest. I don't know whether we are communicating. So, I think you mentioned that. You said, I don't know whether it is you or somebody that mentioned that. But all the same, students are members of the University Sexual Harassment Committee. Thank you very much. I know.
Okay, thank you very much. I think students should be involved from A to Z because it really matters them. The person that asked that question, thank you very much. I would like to congratulate Sarah, the consultant, the research consultant that did that for really seeing you. And I always say the truth as much as Sarah saw us with our pants down. Sarah saw us in our nakedness. That it in terms of the bureaucratic processes that go through for having this, for example, our sexual misconduct policy. That was one of the questions that she missed. You need to see the bureaucratic policy processes 1 year to get this to be approved by the Senate. You go from the Vice Chancellor to the DVC academic, DVC administration, to the registrar, to the legal unit, from the legal unit, going back to again to the registrar, he passes it, he passes it to the Vice Chancellor again appoints committee upon committees upon committees that will be looking into this big policy. By the time it comes out, they will be missing all the things. And those who are doing it are those who are not even, well knowledgeable enough to be part of it. I'm sorry to say this, but this is the truth. Before the Senate will even approve it, the Gender Center director will be running from like chicken without head. Please, our papers are coming. Please make sure you approve it. Make sure you vote for it to pass, and that is how it is passed. These are part of the bureaucratic policies, and it's part of even handling the cases of, those who have been assaulted in one way or the other. But having said that, there is a very beautiful website, thanks to Shehu Yar'Adua Musa Foundation and the Ford Foundation. Is that the Ford Foundation? The 116 or physically or brutally abused by any form will just cling into this. I won't know about it. Somebody, this is the trust that comes in, somebody already knows that something has happened to UNN and then signals the UNN team. Something happened, a case has been, the person does not even need to report, say her full name, and then it surfaces. And then we are cutting the bureaucratic processes down, please. And thank you for then, showing us that our pants are down. We need to put our pants up and put it right. So the gender is not located in a place where it's hidden. It's located in a place where everybody sees it, knows what it is there, why we're there, how we are there, what we do for the students and so forth, and staff at the same time, so forth and so on. So we are looking into it, and then the case is now, properly managed, and the shortcut, we have now what I call shortcut to the process of having the victim, or the, what did you say? The victim, the survivor. And if you Google victim and survival, I don't know, in my case, you have to be victimized to be able to survive, Abby. Oh.
What are some practical strategies for engaging and mobilizing students to participate in advocacy campaigns? Since we are discussing on promoting safe and equitable tertiary institutions through student-led advocacy campaigns and dialogues, and I think this
I think during the course of this forum, they highlighted when Sarah was presenting the result of the research study, she mentioned things like creativity, edutainment, that's education and entertainment, and in my case, I would say sports, right? These are avenues you could use to get people to come together and, you know, educate them on things that they normally wouldn't be interested in. So as we've said here, we're Gen Zs, and naturally we don't like to just be called in, I'm sorry, there was Champions League last night, so my voice is a little, so it's not, you don't really find Gen Zs in public policy forum, not many of them anyway. So you want to find new strategies to engage them. So as I mentioned, you could do it through you know, creativity, edutainment, sports, and what have you. Thank you.
These yeah, we have an awareness campaign coming April, and it's basically a talent, show your talent basically, and people come in, maybe musicians and different things. So it's more engaging, entertaining for the students community than just forums.
Girl, did you hear what happened on campus yesterday?
Everything is really different now since that lecturer tried to harass Halima.
Omo, it's true. Professor Deremi and the students union, they really changed everything.
Still can't believe that the VC of all people actually backed them. That's what good leadership should be.
You are right. I love his decisions.
Pressure. Oh,
I'm Leila, and I'm a member of the Peer Mentors program.
Nice to meet you, Leila. Nice.
I know the first few months in a new environment can be so overwhelming, but not to worry, you are going to get the hang of it.
Well, I'm just a little worried about the things I've heard about harassment on campuses. But it seems as if things are a little better now.
They are. You're even coming to a better place than I did. 2 semesters ago, a lecturer failed a student for not giving in to his demands. She made a TikTok with the receipts of their conversations and it went viral. It was a big scandal and the authorities tried to sweep it under the carpet, but the students' union were not having it this time. You are right. That will actually teach other lecturers a big lesson.
It was time for the authorities to put a stop to the continuous abuse happening on campus. This was just beyond firing the lecturer. It was about putting policies in place to protect us.
Prof, I totally disagree with you.
Nobody believed the policies would pass, but Prof. Aderebi made it happen. She is a real hero. She's always been known to be meticulous. She fought hard to ensure that almost every top official came on board, even those who were initially resistant. Only a few stood on the other side of the divide.
This is good.
Thank you.
It's good.
Then, the VC changed everything when he signed the policy.
Well, we have to admit that the way we have handled these issues over the years has only made things worse. We must stand for change today.
I am finally so happy to see the change.
Fine girl. Look at that banging body. Why holding your book like that? Fresher. See you looking so hot, and yet you don't answer my compliments. Now, wow. Bro, come on now. Pretty babe. I think dirty behavior be this one. Or do you want to go through disciplinary board? Come on now. Yeah, sorry, guy. Abba. No vex.
Like, a year ago, those guys wouldn't even back down, but now, people hold each other accountable. We're safeguarding policies on sexual harassment, gender-based harassment, abuse, and an anonymous reporting platform. Let me show you something. You know, these reforms in school has actually made our school safer for us. Most importantly, what we need is proper leadership. I mean, one that actually stands for us. It is not perfect, but my dear, it is better.
One of those sectors that proper progressive
a lot of institutions in Nigeria either have a dormant policy or policies that are not being enforced. And I thought we came together with the Ministry of Education along with SGBV to work on a model anti-sexual harassment policy. And that was what I mentioned, the figures that I had mentioned earlier, that we have currently signed MOU with over 120 higher tertiary institutions across Nigeria, across subnational, together in technical working group or adopting the model policy, in the sense that they have to then take what we have as a model policy and infuse their local reality, because we know that each institution has a different reality from the next one. So we work with this technical group to make sure that the policy speaks to their local context, their local reality in that scope. And then we further go ahead to forge another committee of 7 people, which we call the Independent Anti-Social Harassment Provision Committee. And this committee is built from the management, there's a representation from management, from the gender department, the student body, and other, the security and other bodies. So what this group of people are responsible for doing is to enforce the response mechanism. So it's one thing to put the policy in place, it's another thing to enforce it. And what we do is to make sure that the bystanders that we have, which we call the campus champions, are effectively working to sensitize people, to educate people, to push for the adoption of the digital app that we have, which we call the campus power app, which is an anonymous reporting platform, and also serve as a preventative education tool where we have training manuals that students can easily access, download, and even get certified for learning about sexual harassment, right? So this technical working group and the ICCC, which is the committee in charge of responses, where reports are being made and redressals are being carried out accordingly. We don't just institute these policies and these groups. We work to give them the necessary support that they need to be very effective and efficient in their scope. So I actually needed to do that brief introduction, but I will just draw some learning from everything we have seen working on this initiative. Number one, that raising awareness on the prevalence of gender-based violence and discrimination does not stop with conversations. We need to act. There are so many platforms, there are so many organizations that are saying so many things, but the action is where the problem is. We like to hold conferences, we like to hold summits, we like to hold a lot of forums, but most times when we go back, that is the end of it. So this campus initiative has given us the, I would say, the opening to see that when you include students that are passionate, that are driven by the problem they face in their campuses, you actually see a lot of things. You actually see the momentum. And I thought we made it a policy that all these groups that we're working with have to incorporate students in their communities. So we learned that policies must go beyond the peace. Many universities have anti-harassment policies, but how many are being enforced? Policies must be implemented, they must be monitored, they must be evaluated regularly.